It's finally 2019, and that means a ton of huge video game releases are upon us. So this list is my top 10 most anticipated games coming out in 2019. No, I am only talking about titles that were at least confirmed to be released this year. And even though this is a top 10 list, I am interested in much more than 10 games coming out this year. This is my personal list, and I would love to hear yours in the comments below. And if you haven't already, please consider subscribing for more content, liking the video, and sharing, as that really helps me out. Now, let's get right to it. Number 10. Left Alive is a survival action shooter set in the Front Mission series. It is about survival from the perspective of 3 different protagonists during a war in Yugoslavia. What really interests me about this game is how much it reminds me of Metal Gear Solid. You can approach this game in different ways, such as stealth or just going in guns blazing. With 3 main characters, character-specific choices, and side quests, I expect there to be a lot of great content to explore. Even though we got Metal Gear Survive in 2018, there hasn't been any signs of a new mainline Metal Gear Solid in the works. Number 9. The Metro series is fantastic. They not only have great gameplay and atmosphere, but a really interesting story that gets better as it goes on. Nearly 6 years after Metro Last Light, we'll be finally getting the 3rd entry into the series, Metro Exodus. The 3rd entry will contain a dynamic weather system, a day and night cycle, and environments that change over the course of the story. Exodus is set 2 years after the events of Last Light. This game sees Artyom, the main protagonist of the previous 2 entries in the series, leaving the Metro in Moscow and starting a journey with the Spartan Rangers. I'm very interested to see what new creatures we will face and of course where the story will take us, but I have no doubt that this will be another fantastic survival horror first-person shooter. Number 8. Control is the next game coming from one of my favorite developers, Remedy Entertainment. Control sees Jesse Faden looking for answers from the Federal Bureau of Control, which is a government agency tasked with studying and containing supernatural phenomena. This third-person story-driven shooter will contain high replayability and more complex game mechanics than any other previous Remedy title. This game definitely seems to be taking inspiration from the previous game Quantum Break, released in 2016. Even though I enjoyed it, I definitely felt that the game had its flaws that hopefully will be improved upon in Control. Nevertheless, I'm very excited for this game. Number 7. Mortal Kombat is one of my most favorite fighting game franchises of all time. Back at the Game Awards in 2018, we were expecting an announcement of some sort, and we got it in a really cool way from Ed Boon. We haven't seen much yet, but considering how amazing the last 2 entries were in the series, I can expect another amazing story in this content-packed fighter. It'll be very interesting to see what guest characters we actually get, as Mortal Kombat X brought some really interesting, great characters like the Xenomorph and Leatherface. So personally, I'm really hoping for Spawn, but only time will tell. Most likely this is going to be via the Season Pass, so let's see what happens. But either way, I'm really excited for Mortal Kombat 11. Number 6. Gears of War, in my opinion, is one of the best franchises we got last generation. I've enjoyed each game in the series, including 4, which was a great way to introduce new characters and establish a brand new story. Cave from Gears 4 now serves as the main protagonist for Gears of War 5. Being an outsider of the Locust descent, Kay has to uncover the origins of her family and the Locust. Thankfully, the game will still feature both split screen and online co-op, which has been a staple since the very original back in 2006, so I'm glad to see it still return. I absolutely love the campaign in Gears 4. It was so much fun. I went straight ahead on it and insane, and it was a blast. I absolutely loved all the set pieces, the new characters introduced, the reintroducing of previous characters. Overall, it was an amazing game. I had such a fun time. I loved the multiplayer and the horde mode, and So far from what we've seen from the Gears 5 campaign, I've got to say it looks like it has some very creepy, very tense moments that really throw me back actually to Gears of War 1, which is my favorite in this series, so I'm very excited to see how the actual story will play out in the end. As far as Horde and multiplayer, I'm very interested to see what the maps will be like, if they're going to keep the loot box kind of skin system that they have in Gears 4, and the overall experience of what it's going to be like. Either way, I'm sure it's going to be great. I really enjoyed Gears 4's multiplayer and Horde mode. It's going to be fun regardless. I can't wait to see what it's going to be like in Gears 5. Number 5. Doom 2016 was a huge hit. What a fun game that did so many things right. And one of those things was definitely porting it to the Nintendo Switch. Having this amazing first-person shooter being able to be played portably was such a cool task, and I can't believe Panic Button actually managed to be able to do it. I love the campaign, the multiplayer, and of course, Snap Map. Snap Map is such an amazing feature that I'd love to see implemented into more games, and of course, the sequel, Doom Eternal. In Doom Eternal, you'll be tasked with defending Earth from the forces of hell. It said that there would be twice as many demons as there was in the 2016 reboot, as well as a new asymmetrical multiplayer mode called Invasion. Invasion sees players joining other single-player campaigns fighting the player as demons themselves. You are, however, able to turn this feature off, and other multiplayer modes such as Team Deathmatch will still be featured in Doom Eternal. Doom Eternal is going to be fantastic. If you haven't done so already, please play the first one, Doom 2016, as it was such a phenomenal game. The Season Pass is free now. Even on the Nintendo Switch, there is no excuse not to play it. It goes on sale quite often. Such a fantastic game loaded with so much content, and I expect nothing less from Doom Eternal. Number 4. Bloodstained Ritual of the Night is the Castlevania game that I have been waiting for. Of course, being developed by the mastermind of previous Castlevania titles such as Symphony of the Night, Koji Igarashi, I had to back this game during its Kickstarter. As one of the stretch goals, they set out to make a prequel game that eventually became Bloodstained Curse of the Moon, which is a spin-off of Ritual of the Night. Curse of the Moon is fantastic and definitely feels like an NES Castlevania title. Ritual of the Night, however, follows Symphony of the Night in being the Metroidvania style we all know and love. So far, backers have gotten 2 playable demos that have been very good in my opinion, with obviously the second one being much improved over the first one. They've taken so much feedback and provided us with a ton of updates. The game sees Miriam, an orphan taken by an alchemist guild and then who was experimented on, journey into Demon Castle to confront Gebel, an alchemist who lost his humanity and summoned demons into the world. The game looks so beautiful, and since I'm a huge fan of Metroidvania games, especially the ones like Castlevania, I am dying for this game to come out. And hopefully it actually does release this year, but to quote Miyamoto, a delayed game is eventually good, but a rushed game is forever bad. So let's see what actually happens in 2019 for Bloodstained. Number 3. I cannot believe we're finally getting a new Devil May Cry game. Now don't get it twisted, I enjoy DMC, so I'm not ignoring that one. I'm just really happy we're getting a new entry in the original series. I'm very interested in seeing where the story will take us, since this actually takes place after Devil May Cry 2. For those that don't know, Devil May Cry 2 in the original series, of course, was the furthest in terms of story. So seeing an entry actually take place after is something that I never thought would actually happen. It's also that not only do we get to play as Nero again, the protagonist of Devil May Cry 4, but we also get to play as the badass Dante, which everybody loves, of course, and myself included, and a new character named V. V comes to the Devil May Cry office to hire Dante to figure out why certain demon acts are happening. Nero, who has his own agency out of a van with his support Nico, is hunting down a hooded figure that gets him to meet up with Dante as it matches up with the job V gave him. All 3 protagonists play differently, so will definitely freshen up the gameplay, and the game will also target 60 frames per second on all platforms and will be using the beautiful RE engine that also Resident Evil 2 Remake will be using. I cannot wait to get my hands on this. I'm sure this will be well worth the wait. Number 2. It's crazy that we can say with confidence that Kingdom Hearts 3 will be releasing in less than a month. I still have memories of the day that I got Kingdom Hearts 2, which of course was the day of release, and it just blows my mind that we're so close that we can actually play it ourselves in our own home. Now, of course, I'm not negating the portable games like Birth by Sleep and Dream Drop Distance. I played every single Kingdom Hearts game and I love them all in their own ways, but I'm so happy that we're finally getting the next mainline entry, which of course will be Kingdom Hearts 3. Kingdom Hearts 3 will be the final chapter in the Dark Seeker saga and will take place after Kingdom Hearts Dream Drop Distance. Sora, Donald, Goofy, Mickey, and Riku will search for the 7 Guardians of Light and the key to return hearts as they will try to take down Master Xehanort, who wants to bring a second Keyblade War. The gameplay looks fantastic with so many different elements to enable many ways to approach combat. There will be many new worlds such as Tangled, Frozen, Big Hero 6, Toy Story, and of course, returning worlds like Twilight Town, Destiny Islands, Disney Castle, amongst others. To say I'm hyped for this game is an absolute understatement. I just cannot wait to see how it actually all plays out. Number 1. I'm sure many of you saw this coming. Yes, Resident Evil 2 is of course my most anticipated game of 2019. The remake I've wanted since 2002, the one I've imagined for years and years, is finally coming out in just a matter of weeks. What makes me happy as a fan is when the E3 2018 reveal was happening and the cutscene turned to Leon's face, the crowd actually cheered and went nuts, and that makes me really happy to know that this was something big to more than just me. And I know there's tons of Resident Evil fans, but I'm just really happy that that was actually a moment, and that made me really happy. Resident Evil 2 still has the Leon and Claire campaign that was in the original, but rather than the A and B games, they're now making them into much longer stories that have exclusive areas to their respective campaigns. When I always imagine what Resident Evil 2 being remade would look like, I always imagined it with fixed camera angles because that's what the first game was remade and looked like. But I have to say, the over-the-shoulder camera angle looks fantastic. It still seems to retain the horror, but still giving it a modern look to the gameplay and the graphics. The new look for Leon and Claire is something that people have been debating about since the game was first shown back at E3 2018. I, for one, love the way they look. Everything so far about the game looks amazing to me. Capcom definitely seems like they put love and polish into remaking this fantastic classic, and again, the RE engine is being put to great use here. With Resident Evil obviously being my favorite series of all time, this being number 1 is no-brainer. 2019 is going to be an amazing year for games, and that's just with the games that we already know of. Who knows what else will be announced or shown this year? What are your most anticipated games of 2019? Let me know in the comments below, and again, if you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a thumbs up and subscribe for more content because that really helps me out. Well, that's all for this video. Thanks for watching.